Are the Montreal Canadiens a playoff team? This is a weird one. Now, I made this kind of video for Vancouver and the Vancouver Canucks because they are my primary favorite team in the NHL, but talking about this in the Habs perspective, it's a little bit different. For the Canucks, it's easy because we can take a look at the West, say, yeah, they sucked, and the Canucks got much, much better, and overall, they have a really good shot at pushing for a wild card. But for the Habs, the East is different. The East is going to be crowded with a whole bunch of teams that could barely squeak in, probably deserve to make it, but won't, and aside from Tampa, there isn't really any guarantees. You could say what you want about some of the other teams, but overall, Tampa Bay and maybe Washington, I guess, or the Bruins too, you could say, are probably the only locks for the 8 in the East. And the Montreal Canadiens, they're in a position where they didn't necessarily get super better over the offseason. They lost Shaw, they added Sherratt, but overall, aside from a few prospect additions and young guys coming into the lineup and young guys who are in the lineup already improving, the Canadiens aren't that much of a better team on paper than they were a year ago. And last year, the Montreal Canadiens did have a pretty good amount of success. They were seen to being a worse team than they ended up being at the end of the year, and they still missed the playoffs. Sure, they were in the hunt. They were in hunt for the majority of the season, up until the very end pretty much, but they didn't squeak in. Now, this team is just a little bit in the same state, maybe a tad better, and the East is as competitive as it's ever been. So, what's it going to take for the Canadiens to make the playoffs? First off, there are a few things that you need to actually pinpoint and label down. Power play, Carey Price, and overall production from everybody. Now, the last one sounds a little bit redundant. Production from everybody means the total goals scored means if you get a lot of goals, you get the playoffs. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but hear me out. First off, the power play. Yeah, the power play was kind of bad. We're not gonna dismiss that. If the Canadiens want to squeak into the playoffs, that power play needs to get better. They haven't had the necessary additions to make a power play that everybody can look at and say is better. But if they're able to get that Weber chemistry going, and if they're able to get some really good things out of guys like Poehling and Suzuki, and an improvement from Kotkaniemi, then their power play could be better. I'm not saying it will be, I'm saying it could be. Things need to go right in order for that to go right. Going over onto Carey Price. He needs to be Carey Price. Carey Price, as of late, hasn't necessarily been Carey Price 100% of the time. He's had some really good seasons in the past, and frankly, his last season was pretty standard. I mean, 918 save percentage is pretty alright, but Carey Price needs to return to that 9-2, 9-3 form that he has been in the past if he wants to take this team into the playoffs. Carey Price needs to be Carey Price. That's plain and simple. Anybody knows what that means. His birthday just passed, so he's 32 now, so belated happy birthday to Carey Price. But if Price is able to become Price, this team has a much better shot at making the playoffs. And overall, the production from everybody, nobody needs to decline. Because the most recent Montreal Canadiens season was a good year for the majority of the Habs. The majority of the Habs on the team had really strong showings. So if any of these guys bounce back, if any of these guys regress into what they were in the past, and some of these guys falter a little bit, that's not going to be a good sign. This team needs to stay together, this team needs to only go up. And for a team like Montreal, where they overachieved in comparison to what people thought they would be able to do, they need to make sure that they're in the same boat as they were last year, if not better. Because they didn't make the playoffs last year, and that was with a lineup that is very similar to this one. So overall, answering the question on whether or not the Habs are going to make the playoffs, it's hard. It's very difficult. If I had to shoot a shot and place all my money onto one decision, I'd say no, but that's just me. You could all just Comment down below what you think, argue in the comments, dismiss what I say. Hopefully, if Suzuki comes in, he gets 50 points, boom. That's a huge step in the right direction. If Poehling comes in, he gets 20 goals and 40 points, boom, that's another great step. If Kotkaniemi gets 50 points, boom, that's another great step. If Gallagher gets 30, 40 goals, boom, the Canadiens are in the playoffs. If Carey Price is Carey Price, then boom, we got it. It's all in. But a lot needs to go right. And there are no guarantees for many of these factors. So, time will tell. The East will tell. And by this time, in a few months, we'll be very close to guessing our answer with very educated guesses. So, right now it's very difficult to guess, but it won't be in a few months. Hope you enjoyed this video, Social 9, and bye.